Gentleman from Texas, Mr. Green, for 30 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and still I rise. And I rise, Mr. Speaker, a liberated, unbought, unbossed, fearless, unafraid Democrat. I rise to Speaker with a special message, one that concerns events that transpired right here on the floor of the House of Representatives last night. I rise, Mr. Speaker, to speak truth to power and truth about power. To speak truth to power, you have to simply say to power, we have a problem, and let us solve the problem. But if you speak truth about power, you say, power, there's a problem, and you're it. I'd like to address both. Let's start with the genesis of what occurred last night, and that genesis is a meme in some worlds, but it was actually something AI concocted, and it had President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama being represented as apes, portrayed as apes. I find this unacceptable, and a good many people of goodwill found it unacceptable as well. Well, as a person of goodwill finding this unacceptable, I wanted to do more than simply tweet something about it or write something about it. I wanted the president to know that people of goodwill will confront him and let him know that he's doing things that are unacceptable. It is unacceptable to portray Homo sapiens, especially persons of African ancestry, as apes, a little bit more than in some worlds of the ape family, and a little bit less than a Homo sapien, something that's sort of in a twilight zone, maybe the missing link, if you will. Well, we're not the missing link. We're as human as anybody else, and we're going to demand the respect that everybody else is accorded. This is not a world where you're going to relegate some human beings to a lower life form simply because it pleases you and a host of people that you happen to communicate with. This is unacceptable. So right here, I sat on this row. I was over one seat away from the aisle, but when the president approached, I then approached the aisle. And when I approached the aisle, I wanted him to see a sign that I had that simply said, but it was truthful, I believe it was powerful. Black people are not apes. Black people aren't apes. And I flashed that for the president to see, based upon the way he turned away and tried to move briskly. It appears that he got the message, but did not want to embrace the message. And as a result of this, he made his way up to give his speech, and I continued to stand silently holding my signage. My signage was my means of silently protesting. There were other persons over in this area who were protesting, and they were doing it peacefully. They had on signage. It was displayed on a cap, is what I saw on one person. A cap, and it had language on it. These kinds of things are done in this chamber quite regularly. If someone thinks it's too often, I won't differ with them, but we'll all have to stop if we're going to stop some of us. Every one of us will have to behave in a similar fashion. Well, I stood there with my signage, and my colleagues became rather disturbed about it. I did not create a disturbance. I stood there silently. They created the disturbance. They're the people who grabbed and ripped my signage. They're the people who said things to me as I traversed the aisle and tried to make my way out of the chamber. They're the people who became rather rambunctious and behaved in some ways in an unacceptable fashion. So if there is to be some concern about who created the disturbance, then you have to look at the video and you will see